ERL has returned for race number 9 here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. You can see Linus Eriksson, pole sitter for Arrow McLaren SP. He's starting on pole, as I've already said, heading out of turn number 3. It's the long third turn and catching up to the back of the pace car, looking back with the 8-2 and not Hugh driving for Power Motorsport in the 25 car. Unusually good qualifying from the Power driver. Then Little Buns starting in 5th position for KB Racing Lotus, and behind him Rodney Sola up in 4th position. A brilliant qualifying coming from the Premier driver. Then Nelson, Board Car Championship leader from Hernandez, Sanchez, Hudson and Niven Colby, the top 10. Ghosted starts 11th from Milsos Micah and Devin Butler. Then it's Denali Gabo, Oqui, David Camno, Carson Thornburg down in 17th from Tommy, Zach Wallace, Tavi Carrera, Elliot Deli, who's just come back from a pretty bad race in Melbourne, and Hexel Mark at the back of the pack. Well then, looking back up front with Linus, having to control the field on this pace lap. I've got a new microphone for this race. Hopefully everything's going to be sounding alright. If it does sound alright, then I will continue to use this for INDYCAR, but not for Formula E. Right then, rising through the final sector here in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in the second series of ERL INDYCAR. Pace car pulling into the pits. And can the Swedish driver take a victory for McLaren here in Brazil? Rounding the final turn, Hughes on his back with Lil Buns and Sola behind. Boogity, 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 let's go racing drivers! Heading down through turn 1. That was the start that Linus needed, to be honest with you. He's already pulled 7/10 to Enoch Hugh heading down into turn number 4, but the Power Motorsports man in the 25 closing in. Sola with the fastest first sector of anyone would go on board with the 3, closing into the KB Racing man in front, looks to the inside, he's right there with Lil Buns, couldn't get the move done yet, but he's still edging around looking for a place to get the move done. 16 racing laps here in Sao Paulo, but the first lap behind the safety car is counted as a lap. On board we go with Rodney, rising up the hill in that 3 car with the red helmet. He's found his way, he's picking his line, and he's taking it. 3rd position for car number 3 as we head on to lap 3 of 58.766. Nice soft tyres already switched on. Attack mode online. And the rear wing wide open for Sola. He's going to be able to use push to pass at any time. But with Enoch in front also using it, it's going to come down to what you can do to get past Eriksson, as Nelson moves up into 4th position in front of Lil Buns. Here comes Lil Buns in front of Nelson again, but still fighting with Sola. He's sandwiched between 2 one-time Formula E champions, the Season 5 and the Season 9 champions of Formula E, both driving in INDYCAR. There's an Hugh closing in on Linus Eriksson right in front of him. Heading down through, well rather heading up through the final few turns. He's got attack mode. He's side by side with Linus, and by the time they reach the breaking point of the chicane, Enoch Hugh has taken the lead at the Sao Paulo Prix, but I believe that Eriksson's going to be the one to get pushed apart and attack mode, and he's using it. He's far ahead. He's further ahead than he was on the opening lap. He was 0.8 of a second before turn 4, and exiting it, it's about a second the gap between first and second. Enoch Hugh, by taking the lead at turn 1, might have made his race all the more harder because he couldn't hold on to it coming out of turn 3. Look at the softs on Rodney Sola's car though. 61% already showing signs of graining. Not even signs, they are just graining up. So now tyre strategy is going to be quite a big part of this race. Marcus Nelson, he's dropped down to 6th behind, or rather alongside, with the championship leader Max Bortkar. His qualifying performances haven't exactly been stellar all season long as Nelson goes past him. Tommy and Camino both coming into the pits at the end of lap number 4. And just look at that field heading down into turn number 4, and almost contact between Hernandez and Bortkar. The 29 drops behind his teammate. Bortkar has dropped to 8th position behind Sanchez, and the next one to try and get past the Andretti man is Dominic Hudson in the 98. I don't know what it is. Doesn't seem to be a slow puncture or something like that. Might just be down to poor tyre management, because he is in the 40. So is Dominic. Looks to the insides as Hudson, and he takes 8th away rather from Max Bortkar. Might take 7th away from Sanchez. Who's coming in? That's one of the Andretti surely coming in. Solo, Lil Buns was on the mediums. Hernandez, Sanchez, and Colby all coming into the pits. But Linus Eriksson still in front of Enoch Yu. And if he can take the fastest lap and lead every lap from here on out, Linus Eriksson will be the first driver to take an ERL INDYCAR Grand Slam. We've seen Grand Slams before, with the most prominent example being Sebastian Ocampo, season 16, race 1, Monte Carlo in Formula E, the least eventful race to occur in Monaco until the ABB FIA Formula E series headed there just today and was hella mid. But still on board with Enoch Yu, and those mediums, after 6 laps, they're going to do a 7th. That seems highly unreasonable, as in come the guys behind them who are on the softs. I believe that they're going to keep Kui out there at hyperdrive. They have 7 laps for O'Quee on those soft compound tyres. And McLaren are going to have to push either Gabo or Ericsson to do 8 laps on the mediums. I think Gabo's going to be the man to do the longest first stint, but there are some dark clouds coming over Brazil. And Solar, on the hard tyres, leads all the drivers who have pitted so far. Camino did gain quite a bit. He's up into 12th on the road. That'll become 4th if everyone in front of them all will pit and drop behind. Meanwhile, Enoch Yu has taken the lead in Brazil. If he crosses the start-finish line in front of Ericsson, then that wipes Ericsson's chances of a Grand Slam. Heads through the final turn, will do an 8th lap, and Ericsson pits. Enoch Yu takes the lead and removes all hopes of Ericsson's Grand Slam attempt. Kui comes in, Circuera stays out, Gabo of course stays out, McLaren not wanting to do the double stack. Ericsson heading down pit row. That's Sola going by, and Lil Buns and Sanchez as well. Also coming out of the pit stick, that's David Camino, and Linus Eriksson's come out in 8th. Car number 8 has just come out of the pits in 8th position. And Charles Hernandez is on the inters. Devin Butler's on the inters. Bortkar's on the inters, so that's both the Dragon Penske drivers coming in. Rain falling in Brazil. This is exactly what Power Motorsport, what KV Racing, and what Denali Gabo would have wanted to see. Rain falling in Brazil as those medium compound tyres finally begin to deteriorate. Enoch Yu comes into the pits. Davi Circuera and Denali Gabo quick to follow in. Rodney Sola caught up to the back but just wasn't able to take advantage of that, and Camino staying out. Lap 9 of 17, David Camino's leading with soft tyres that aren't just heavily worn, but terribly suited to the track's conditions. It is not dry out there, and Power have set him out there on those dry compound tyres. It is a Power Motorsports 1-2, and Q is 10 seconds in front of Tenali Gabo. So, for the man from Hong Kong, this should be a very simple win. Attack mode deactivated due to, well, conditions. And Enoch is actually closing in quite a bit to David in front. 4.4 seconds, the gap between the top two, as Camino now rising out of the final few turns. On board we go with the 88, and he's coming in. In comes David Camino. He's about to lose that entire advantage he had by staying out one lap. There's not really that much of an advantage by staying out one lap more or coming in one lap earlier. Well, if you come in one lap earlier, as you can see with Hernandez and Bortcar, you can gain track position. Bortcar was dropping down the order. He's currently up in 13th now. He was running in the points earlier on, and Dominic Hudson's going to drop him down to 14th. Heading into the first chicane, down the inside comes Hudson. And there's really nothing that Bortcar could do to fight off that attack from the Premier guy or from Niven Colby driving for Sims. For the championship leader, he can afford to have one race like this, considering his unimaginable lead in the championship. But you can't have too many non-point scores, because that's going to ruin your championship, as we saw with the Chip Ganassi driver of Carson Thornburg last season. As you can see, Thornburg fighting and now in front of Bortcar with 6 laps to go. Enoch once again dominating this race. Sir Carrera trying to close up to the back of Tenali Gabo. And in most cases, you expect the rain to really shake up the race, to really change the entire outlook and to cause carnage. But after everyone's changed onto those Inters, a team like Prema might want this race to go back to dry. There's a little bit of sun peeking through those clouds, but not enough to stop all that rain. And Enoch, his third sector, not very good. Lost a lot of time there. Of course, these IndyCars running the ERL 01 chassis and everything that comes with that as we're on to lap 12 means that the steering wheel display and actually all the software is still running off of what was built for the 01s, and therefore we can't see the delta times. But Gabo still 10 seconds off the back of an RQ after coming across the start-finish line. That is the entire length of the second attack mode zone. It's not going to be easy to get past the man who leads this race, who has 5 laps before he can receive his prize. And with Solar currently in 4th, you know, considering that it is still his first IndyCar season, might be the only IndyCar season he actually runs, this is still brilliant to see from the driver for Prema Power Team. Rising up the hill then, so we're on to lap 13. And Dominic Hudson, 5-second time penalty. Camino with a puncture. Rear puncture for David Camino as he rises out to the final few turns. And the Romanian driver in the 88 has got a puncture and will drop far, far down the order. But it's been cleared by every driver in the order. Apart from Hudson, it seems, who got a time penalty, but seemingly that's all that's happened. Slight bit of damage to that Prema car, but apart from that, once again, not much damage. Sola looking for the podium here, right on the back of Davi Sir Carrera. If he can get past Davi, then who knows, he might actually be on for P2 if he can get on with this quickly. The Season 5 champion, returning to the ERL in Season 2 of IndyCar, will make his full-time return in the chase for the cup for Formula E. And it's been confirmed that if Pierre Gasly can make it into the chase, Matt Sola will take his position in the chase for the cup, which will be very interesting to see how that plays out, but also very interesting to see how the teams will respond to that, especially with the next chase scheduled to come in season 25. But Tenali Gabo still not really gaining on a knock. Of course, this twiddly section of the track, the middle sector, the slowest sector on the track, and it is where you do lose a lot of time if you are leading. Sorry for hitting the mic there, but few laps left to run. On board with Gabby we go. And Sir Carrera closing in. Tenali Gabo. Looking back we go with the 23. Still no attack mode. The rain is definitely slowing. It hasn't stopped, but it is slowing. It might stop, but by the time it does stop, the drivers might not pit. They certainly won't have to pit by the time it stops, and there's a possibility that pit lane entry might be closed. On board we go with Sir Carrera, trying to give his home fans a show. Just listen to those engines roar. And yes, that's right, we are now using Monoposto's in-game engine sound, if everything's working. If everything's working, then we're using it. And we're on to the penultimate lap. And the Not Q still leads the pack. Gabo and Sir Carrera dueling over second position. Brazilian not lunging down the inside through 1. Coming out of 3, he can maintain the slipstream. Maybe use some of that push to pass that his regen that he's built up. Maybe he could try and close in. Maybe he can make the pass. He can't do it. He's not trying to. He uses it coming out of 4. And he's dumping the entirety of the battery through the second sector. The rain is certainly slowing. A lot less spray coming off the back of that McLaren car in front than what we've expected to see. As Inocu rounding out the final sector now, we're on board with Sir Carrera, who's heading through that final sector as we speak. He's got 64% push to pass to use. We are on to the final lap here in Brazil for Inocu. Ever since the waterworks turned on, he's just shifted into turbo, and the rain has stopped. It's dry. I think attack mode is going to be online for this lap, and this lap only after switching on to the inters. Everyone's on the wrong compound tyres, and the rear wing wide open for Sir Carrera, who doesn't make the lunge through 4. He's trying to hold on to 3rd here. He's not going to try and get past. That is going to be a big upset for all the home fans if he can't make the pass work. But I don't think he's going to try and make the pass work. Keep an eye on the timing tower, because this man Inocu certainly hasn't needed to. 8 seconds to gap as he rises out of the final corner here in Brazil. Through the last turn we go, and it'll be Inocu for Power Motorsport who takes victory at the Grand Prix of Sao Paulo. Meanwhile, Davi Sir Carrera, he's used all of his push to pass, but it'll only be 3rd for the KV Racing driver behind Gabo. Sola will be 4th from Sanchez, Ericsson, Ghosted, Lil Bonds. And this fight for 9th, who's it going to be? Will it be Tommy or will it be Nelson? It'll be Marcus Nelson at the line with 9th. No! 1/1000th of a second. And Tommy is classified with 9th position. That was unbelievably close between those two. As we now watch Camino round out his final lap. He was almost a lap down there, was David, but just about managed to keep it on the lead lap. Here is the podium then. Great stuff from Inocu to get himself onto the top step. Mostly comes down to strategy, but maintaining a gap like that in those conditions surely is not easy. Gabo coming home with a second place finish while being hounded by Davi Circarera all the while, also equally impressive. Ronnie Sola came across the line with 4th position and the fastest lap from Daf Sanchez, and the man who started this race on pole, Linus Eriksson. Then it's ghosted Lil Buns, Marcus Nelson and Tommy. So that timing tower was wrong and classified the drivers in the wrong direction. It was still 1/1000th of a second, but Nelson classified with 9th. Niven Colby's 11th from Charles Hernandez and Carson Thornberg. Then it's Quee, Hexel Mark, Dominic Hudson, Max Sportcar, Zach Wallace, Elliot Daly, Devin Butler, Milsos Micah and David Kameny. And for Max Sportcar, he still leads the way on 109 points. He's going to take the championship, it seems like, this season in front of Delhi and Ghosted. Then it's a tie for 4th position between Ewan Sanchez. 1 point back is Dominic Hudson. Then tie for 7th between Gabo and Buns. Then Carson Thornberg, Davi Circarera, David Kameny, Tommy. 1 point back is O'Quee. Then Zach Wallace, Marcus Nelson. 1 point back from him is Ronnie Sola. Then it's Devin Butler, Linus Eriksson, Charles Hernandez, Milsos Micah, teammates Niven Colby and Hexel Mark. In the constructors standings, heading into the next round of the ERL INDYCAR Series, Andretti Green Racing lead the way on 162 points from Chip Ganassi and KV Racing Lotus. Then it's Power Motorsport, Apex Pinnacle, Premier Power Team, Arrow McLaren SP, Hyperdrive and Revolution Racing, Dragon Penske, and Sims Motorsport. We will see you guys next time then when the ERL INDYCAR Series returns.